Same people who own the labels own the prisons.
Literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through. And certain
City boy, city boy.
What up, y'all? Welcome to my new channel, Pegasus vs. the World, where I take on challenges, trending topics, world topics, traveling, funny stuff as well. Here we are. He said it. Well, I've said this as well. I said this on a Tom McDonald reaction with Ben Shapiro, Facts Over Feelings, or whatever that song was called. I said, you know, I struggle when people just diss hip-hop and rap. Oh, it's degenerate music, it's this, and they generalize hip-hop without knowing the roots, without knowing the history, and without knowing how much involvement, potentially, allegedly, Central Intelligence agencies have had in the root of this music. Roots in other music, too. You know, if you've ever heard of M to the K to the Ultra, ha. If you know, and it goes all the way to the streets, man. You know, if you ever heard of COINTELPRO. So there's a lot of stuff going on with, allegedly, with the Central Intelligence agencies. But today, we're here on the channel to check this out and have a conversation. So if you're with me, like, share, comment, subscribe. This is my new channel. You guys probably seen me on my reaction channel. But this is where I like to do a little commentary, some maybe deep dives. I got to figure out what I want to do here, what you guys like, and then really feed the algorithm, right? So you guys are at the experimental stage, but here I am. So, yeah, we're about to get into this. If you guys are ready for it, let's just pull it on up and get after it. I'm going to bring it back from the beginning. This is from Patrick Bet David's podcast. Man, he got some really good stuff at Valuetainment. I really enjoy his commentary and his views. It really makes me want to step it up as a creator and just even learning about history. But he had Ice Cube on, and this is titled Records Made by Committee. Ice Cube reveals CIA secret hip-hop ties. I've not heard this, so this is kind of like a reaction for me, but I know what's going on in the industry. I know the history of hip-hop, and you got to think, yeah, you know, breakdancing, house parties, this is how it started, so it had a party vibe, but immediately it went conscious. Immediately hip-hop was conscious rap, you know, KRS-One, the Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubian, Public Enemy, the list goes on. There was so much conscious rap. Even Wu-Tang Clan at capacity has a lot of knowledge and consciousness to it. So it blows up, and then you start seeing these changes, you know. You start seeing these different changes, and it's progressively gone a certain way. And some people wonder, some people are just like, oh, it's degenerative music, it's this, that, and the other. And there's a bunch of different arguments that I would like to, you know, tackle here potentially, because it's not just the music. I believe, this is what I honestly believe before we get into this, so we'll see what he says. I believe that central to the intelligence agencies, you know, might have somehow got involved in co-opting certain things with record labels and pushing certain things, just like we've seen in 2020 with the social media space being, you know, hijacked by some of our government and corporations, right? So they control what you see. So I believe that, and my premise goes all the way back to, I believe it was called COINTELPRO, and the things that were done with the black community. Also, let's not forget, you know, just like we just saw this attempt on Trump, we saw Kennedy, we saw MLK, you know, we have all these leaders who have, you know, fallen victim to what would seem to be a bigger story. Now, I'm not trying to get conspiracy crazy on this channel, because I know that that's problematic on YouTube typically. So, but this is real, because when I talk about that, the FBI was involved in taking out the heads of the Black Panther Party as well. And so there's a lot of things that lead right, into these communities, fatherless households, and lead to these things. And so there's a buildup. There's a whole, storyline to this. But let's see what Ice Cube says, and we'll get to it. You guys tap it in the comments as well. I'd love to hear what you think about all this.
So CIA, and you've said some stuff about the CIA. Rob, I don't know if you got the clip or not. I don't know which clip this is. We'll play one of these clips if you got it. Is this on Bill, Rob? Okay, play this clip. Maybe your position's changed, but I want to hear your thoughts. Go for it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons.
Literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Some records are made by committee, meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're going to have this guy write the lyrics. We're going to have that. You have, the record company pushing the narrative, and somewhat, some social engineering going on here to make sure those prisons stay full.
So,
yeah.
How much truth is there behind that?
I think it's a lot of truth. If you really remember, I was talking about the Black Rocks of the world and Vanguards of the world. Look how much they are invested in all these big labels and the prison industry. And, not saying that the CIA is sitting there writing rhymes, but they may have a deal with.
Yo, hold on. Yo, that was great. That was low-key comedic. He just dropped it real quick. Like, I ain't saying the CIA is writing rhymes. That is hilarious. I'm not saying that either. Yo, imagine CIA agents just in there with a badge like, all right, this is hot. Send it over. That's hilarious.
An industry. And, not saying that the CIA is sitting there writing rhymes, but they may have a deal with the labels and to allow certain records to get through. I mean, it's up to the label who they blow up, the whole industry. And so, I've seen records made by a committee when it's not the artist's own thought process. But that happens with a lot of records. A lot of records are, you got producers, you got A&R people, you got people who sit there and say, okay, this sound like it's a hit. This sound like it's going to be great. And so it's not hard to imagine a record label, finding a kid that's talking the hardest and blow him up to the top because they know, some kids may be out there going to listen and, like you said, be influenced to do something because this is their favorite rapper. So, you don't see a lot of happy rappers at the top of the game, do you? No.
You know any of these names, any of these people that the CIA fed them or somebody wrote the script for them or no? I'm not looking for names. I'm wondering if
I don't know names, it's just companies who, they're not gonna let you put the record out unless they have a say in the production of the music.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like you write a book and they say, hey, you can't be critical of this guy. Take this out.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we got to talk to the lawyers about this line. We don't want to get sued by those guys like that. You're not saying necessarily to try to get internally to destroy a community like.
All right. So I'm just looking at Ice Cube's body language and the way he's conveying this. Let's remember that he is a multi-millionaire involved in the movie industry. Okay. And he is one of the men who actually, during 2020 stood up and was like, I'm not doing certain things because, my belief system doesn't agree with that, which I applaud. But I'm saying this in reference to there are politics at the top in anything. In any industry you're in, actually, there's politics at the bottom. There's politics everywhere, right? And so I'm not saying he knows names, But I'm saying he's like he's sprinkling gems. He's not giving you the treasure chest and opening the treasure chest and be like, look, I believe he's speaking from experience and really knows what's going on. But when you're on these huge podcasts, you know, coming out and going all full Cat Williams could be destructive to his career, to his son's acting career. Like there's a lot of things that he's tied to, which he's still his own man and he's willing. But I think when you get to a certain level, there's a balance you keep, because there's even a balance that I keep on YouTube, because I know there's a potential of getting kicked off. And when you create an income stream, you're like, you know, there's this concept of you can't go to war without a war chest. So, you know, pick your strategy, right? And I believe, you know, with everything he's doing with the big three in his basketball league and a bunch of different things, he's creating awareness about certain things, but he's not going full tinfoil like, yo, they think I'm crazy, which I personally believe he probably has some crazy stories. Like he's not saying this because he hasn't seen or been through something, you know. I think he's probably seen more than what he's saying is what I'm trying to get at, but he's not saying it all because this is a game of strategy, and you never show your full hand, especially, you know, and that's the other thing. Anyways, that's what I think. I could be wrong. I love Ice Cube, man. He's the truth. He's a G for real. But all right, let's see what else.
The African American community.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not either. You know, I don't know what their plan is. I just know.
What happened? That's never happened. Did our internet go out? That's crazy. What? Hold on.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not either. You know, I don't know what their plan.
Hold on. Let me see what's going on. Why that happened? Because that don't ever happen, hey, man. I'm plugged in, man. Wu-Tang is plugged in, baby. Oh, I actually got off on accident. All right. Here we go. Yeah, that's what you get with me, the raw and uncut. All right, let's see what's going on. Experiencing, find out why. Because the internet.
Plan is, I just know that the same people who own the labels own the prisons, and I believe, and it's a lot of evidence out there that they make sure that the records that are put out will more than likely have a negative effect on the community and create, you know, a prison industry or a prison community where, you know, you got the men and women in the community going to jail often. So it happens. It's real. It's reality.
In these uncertain times.
All right. PBD podcast, show him love. He does a promo about his merch and stuff, so you guys can check that out on his channel. Please support what they're doing. I just want to go back to this conversation because it's not like, so taking like a victim mindset is like, woe is me, everyone's after me, da-da-da, and blindly going into things, right? So we got to look at some of the facts and then also accountability. When we go back to how did this, first and foremost, how did the black community, let's talk about the black community. We're talking about hip hop. I'm talking about, you know, things I've seen, right? Where did we get to this place? Fatherless households, a bunch of things, right? It seemed like when you look at statistically, there were more fathers in the household before civil rights. So I don't know what happened per se. Maybe I need to do a little more history. But something happened. Okay, and between the time before civil rights and civil rights, you know, it went crazy in the black community. Now, from things I've seen, policies incentivize single motherhood, right? Like, they're like, let's say we incentivized, hey, if you guys can work it out for the children, you're going to get a tax break. You're going to get this. You're going to get food stamps, da-da-da-da, or more of this. Maybe more households would be together, but instead they incentivized a man not being in the house at all, and that's how you get your this, that, and the other. So we see a lot of incentivization, but that goes across the board because it's not just black families that are, you know, dealing with single-parent households and poverty. But we've seen an attack on the black community in the sense of having to overcome, you know, racism. You know, I remember when people were spitting on black folks, you know, lynching them. And then we start to move forward and start to have more come together moments, I would say, as America. I mean, we went as far as having a black president, which is phenomenal. But when you look at certain things, you know, there was some type of ties to the assassinations of, you know, MLK, the Black Panthers, John F. Kennedy. So there's always these setbacks in the communities. And it's interesting to see how that could shape a whole community. And then we get to the peak of where we're at. And then a certain type of music starts getting produced. Let's not even say, you know, the CIA was involved in that. Let's say it actually came from this community that had been high, you know, COINTELPRO, the Black Panthers, and then there's misinformation fed to the black community, right? Like, so one of the things that I've learned, in my opinion, is that when we were down as a black community, the people who, let's say, would offer help would be like these liberation, like communist type of concepts. And so initially it's easy to be like, well, yeah, America's bad, capitalism's bad. They're the ones trying to help liberate this thing, you know, figureheads from Cuba and other stuff like that, starting like, you know, liberation armies in America. And it's very interesting to see how that could be a little misleading, right? Because capitalism is just when free markets compete. And what we see in today, we see a little corruption at the top. The free markets compete, then the winner gets to the top and he kind of rigs the system. So that's what we're seeing. But capitalism to get there isn't necessarily bad. It's just it's really just athletics. There's a winner, there's a loser, and you just keep competing until you win type of concept is how I look at it. So it's not necessarily bad. But anyways, I believe there's been policies implemented that look like they help the black community, but in hindsight, if we look at where we're at right now, hasn't helped. And now fast forward to a community that might create a certain type of music, and then you have record labels who, like, maybe they didn't, you know, maybe it's all coincidental, but it's like, hey, we're going to push this narrative because human nature, we're attracted to drugs, sex, and violence, it seems like naturally, right? So it's easy to make music for people to just start making music like that. And then the labels be like, oh, push it. It's the easiest thing to push. But once they start seeing certain things at the top, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to invest in a prison system because all these people just keep going to jail. And I see these ties. It's interesting because the connections he's making, you see these connections in like the pharmaceutical world a little bit as well. You see these back and forth, like people jumping from a pharmaceutical company to the FDA, vice versa. So I think this is interesting. I think this is a conversation that should be had because I think in the battle of the concept of capitalism innovates, or it births innovation. Capitalism gives birth to innovation. That's a really good thing, in my opinion. However, at the top, we see this greed, and they try to rig capitalism, right? They're not letting the best ideas make it to the top. And sometimes the best ideas make it to the top through what? YouTube, the internet, right? This is why we have these underground sensations like Oliver Anthony and a bunch of people who are like, yo, this really resonates with me. So, there's some programming going on in the music. Oh, I almost lost this idea because wasn't Charles Manson involved in some type of musical operation with the CIA? And I know all the MK Ultra stuff. Was Charles Manson involved in a musical operation with the CIA? Charles Manson, the CIA, and the secret history of the... I got to read a back up on that because I thought there was I know there's some type of ties with LSD, CIA, and certain testings, but I thought there was something he was involved with music at some point, but I could be incorrect. Anyways, you guys tapping in the comments, let me know what's up. I do think at some capacity, hip hop got hijacked in the sense of corporations, which are the labels, and somewhat intelligence agencies are steering certain narratives. I don't believe people want to hear certain things all the time. I think it's easy to force feed this type of music to kids because kids don't really know what they want. And if it looks cool, then they're very easily influenced, which I was very easily influenced at my young age, which for me was good because I was super influenced by Wu-Tang. I was actually first influenced by NWA and started doing the gangbanger thing. You know, like bad stuff. Like I shouldn't be here today because of some of the gang activities I was involved in. However, Wu-Tang Clan, they were talking about knowledge, building, hustling, and I got on this like pro-black, like black excellence tip. That's what actually really helped me in life. But all I'm trying to say is you're very influential. And I had both parents in the household. They just worked all the time, so they were never home. And music kind of became my parent in a way. Like I was learning stuff from music and my peers, and you want to be cool and stuff like that. So this is a huge conversation to be had. I mean, I'm by myself and I've rambled off for 20 minutes, but I would love to hear in the comments, does this spark anything for you? You know, corporations have hijacked all forms of music and made it bubblegum, right? Bubblegum rock, punk, pop. Well, pop is pop, country. But there's still this, that's why I like doing reactions, because the audience leads me to some of the classic and the core of where some of this stuff came from. So it's really interesting. But I wanted to highlight this on my channel because I do believe hip hop gets a bad rap. It's misunderstood. And I think there's a lot of learning to do from that community too, because right now it's really polarized, right? Like a lot of my ideas are traditional. So I gravitate to like conservatism. But I grew up seeing things a certain way, and sometimes I'll see conservative pundits just get it wrong in the sense of not knowing the depth of how deep this goes without being like, woe is me, victim mindset, because I don't believe in that as well. Like you're not going to be able to get up and fight and move forward if you're constantly in a victimization state. It takes a lot to be a winner, and there's no victim that's ever been a winner in life. That's just not how it works, right? So there's a balance to be kept, but I feel like, you know, seeing some of the history with all these different things that happened in the black community and us as well, realizing that, oh, some of these policies where they said, hey, we're going to give you free food stamps and welfare and things like this might not actually be the best thing for our family or household. And I believe in time we've seen that, right? We're at an all-time high of divorce. We're at an all-time high of sickness, unhealth, and a bunch of stuff in one of the greatest countries in the world, wealth-wise. So we got to start taking a look at these things and having these conversations. But anyways, man, that was a fun one. Totally different from my last one where women prisons are gross. Who knows? Anyways, I'm out of here, y'all. Yeah. Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all know what it is.
City boy.